know very well. One of those is ls. So what I want to concentrate on here is the ls command, and then we'll look at a few other basic commands in terms of when we were here on Tuesday, we talked about some of the commands to create a directory and move from one directory to the other. We also want to include the ability to delete a directory, so we'll add that to it. So this is the ls command. What does the ls command do?
List all your files.
So it's going to list the files and directories. If you do it just like this with nothing after it, it will list the files and directories in the current location. If you ever want to know what the current location is, what command do you type?
PWD.
PWD. All right, so let's just go back over here. Clear, to clear the screen. And PWD, by default, when you log in, it always puts you in your home directory. Now, the home directory for the root user is /root. Now, if you have a regular user, and how do I know that I am the root user from this prompt?
Yeah, the pound sign.
Yeah, the pound sign. If I was a regular user, then you'd see a $sign there. So you can tell whether you're a regular user or whether you're the root user. For most of the things that we'll be doing here using the Fedora image, we're going to be logged in as root. So typically we'll do that. Now let's just wrap up a few things. So if I do ls, what does it show me? It shows me all the files and directories that are in my current location. So this is showing me everything that's in /root. All right. Now some of these are color coded. Anything that is green is what is that? It's something that has execute rights. So it could be a script, it could be some kind of program, but anything that is green is an executable. If I looked in the bin directory, they'd all be green because they're all executables here. Anything that is this kind of a blue color is actually a folder. So that's a folder, documents is a folder, downloads is a folder, so you have those folders there. You also see some that are red. I was playing with this in the other class. Anything that's, you know what a zip file is, right? What's a zip file? So it's compressed so you can compress it down. And you use the concept of compressed files also in Linux or Unix. Typically, those compressed files are called tarballs.
Yeah.
And here's an example. There's TAR. That's an uncompressed archive. Actually, of course, Linux and Unix has been around for a long time. That actually stands for tape archive. You know, that's how long it's been around. Okay, tape archive. It still retains that name. This one is a compressed archive, or zip. And this right here means that it was compressed using bzip2. That's a compression algorithm. This one is this is compressed using gzip. But anything that's red is like a zip file. It's something that's a compressed archive file. That's really a collection of files that is somehow compressed. The files that are labeled as black files they're just files. They're not any special files. They're just files. So we have directories and files and executables. So typically it shows this in color code so you can tell what you're looking at.
So the blue ones are the directory files, you said?
The blue ones are actually directories. So those are directories. So blue there is the directory.
last class there was cyan, was that just because that's a different,
Pardon me?
in our last class, the blue was a cyan, is there a
There
substitute?
was, all right, this is a slightly different color, and I know they look similar. Let me see if I can show you the cyan. There's some, the lighter blue, kind of more like a sky blue, that's a link. And let me see if I can show you that. If I did a listing of, let's say, that's in the ETC directory, and let's say I wanted everything that starts with a G. I think we'll see some of those there. You see, that's a little different color, isn't it? See, that's that cyan. Those are links. Those are shortcuts. You ever make a shortcut for a file? Like you make a shortcut on the desktop so you can double click on it and it opens up. That's what that is. That's a little bit different color. You see the blue there? That's a directory, whereas that is a link. I mean, you can call both of them blue, but you see what we're talking about? It's a little bit darker blue is going to be a directory. If you see something that's more what I would call cyan, then that's going to be a link. That's called a symbolic link.
What about green?
Green is an executable. It's something that has execute rights.
So you just typed in ETC and then GTK?
Well, what I typed in is when you do ls, it gives you the current directory. If I want to look at something in another directory, I have to put the path, and you see the path there, /etc/ and what does that mean? G asterisk. What is that?
Like wildcard or something like
Yeah. And if you've ever done anything with MS-DOS, it's the same wildcard, anything that starts with a G. And I knew I had some there that started with a G, so I was specifically looking at that. So I didn't have to look at everything. Now, so LS will show you in a coded format. It will show you the files and directories and links that exist in the current directory. Now, I'm still in the my home directory here. Actually, he did. Okay, I'm still in my own home directory, and I'm going to do the ls again. So that's what it shows me. But there's also hidden files that are also there. If you want to see the hidden files, and let me explain what a hidden file is. Hidden file is a file that's hidden from normal directory view. And you have those in Windows too. You can mark a file as hidden. You can still see it if you kind of work around that. I can do the same thing here. If I want to see the hidden files, I can do ls with a switch. This is called a switch. A switch that changes the way a command works always starts with a dash. So I can do -A. What does A stand for? All. So it means I'll see all the files whether they're hidden or not. So I can do ls-A, and you see the ones that are hidden are the ones that start with a dot. You see that? So those are ones that you probably shouldn't fool with unless you know what you're doing. And we do a lot of manipulating some of those in the Part 2 class. And sometimes you do need to see those files and see what's in it. But if you ever want to see the files that are hidden from normal view, and again, you see it starts with a period there if you want to hide something. And these are things you normally wouldn't want to mess with. There are configuration files for what your desktop looked like and the settings for applications and things. All right, so we've got ls, shows me all the regular files and directories in a color-coded format. If I do ls-A, that shows me all files, including hidden files, right? Now, another thing is you can do ls-L, And so let's see what that format is. Now, A means all, L means long format, or you can look at that as meaning line format. So it gives me a lot more information than just the file name. It gives me more information. So do ls-l, and let's take a look at that and see what it does. Now this gives me a lot more information, right? So what information does it give me? It gives me, for example, it gives me the name that's over here on the right. What is this information right here? It tells me exactly when the file was created. So it gives me, there's one there, January 14th, 2012. Okay, that's when that file was created. What is this column right here?
Size.
That's the size. That's the size in bytes. So that's about 11K there. So there's the size. So there's the size. Now this information right here is actually the this first column right here, one like this. This column right here. This is the user that owns that file or directory. Now we can have, when we talk about files and directories, we also need to understand about ownership. Who owns that file or directory? Well, typically whoever created that file or directory is the one that owns it. So in this case, this is my own home directory as a root user, so I own all of that stuff. So I am the owner of those files and directories. This second one is the group that owns that file. All right, so you have group ownership and you have user ownership. That's what it's showing you, all of that information. And this left-hand side is showing you the permissions that you have on that. Now, take for example, this is the only one that is green. Now, what does the green mean? What was it?
Executable.
Yeah, executable. And if you take a look at this, let's take a look at this line right here next to that. Now, the first character tells you what kind of file it is. If it's a dash, it's a file. If it's a D, what is it? Directory. So D is directory. If it's a link, like that cyan thing we were looking at, it'll have an L, meaning it's a symbolic link. So that first letter tells you what kind of file it is. And then what you have, let me bring up Notepad here, and let me bring up one that's had written on. All right, here we go. So let me bring this up and I'll write on it for a minute. So what you're looking at here is you have 10 characters there. And what this is doing is, so you have like dash or D or L. Those are the most common ones, and that means what? A file, a directory, a symbolic link. And then you have what could be RWX, RWX, RWX.
Right.
You have 3 sets of permissions there. All right, now this first set of permissions, and let me put this under here, the first 3 letters indicates the permission for the user that owns the file. The user that owns the file. The next set, and I'm going to spray, they're not spaced out, but let me space them out anyway so I can see this a little bit better. What is the second 3 permission letters? Who does that belong to? That's the group that owns the file. And this one is for what's referred to as other. It means anyone that ain't the user or group owner, that's other. So, and notice that some of these, if you look at some of these, for example, what would this mean right here if I saw
Dash.
let's say, let me put a dash here, and let me put 2 dashes there. So tell me, the user that owns this file has what rights?
Read, write.
Read and write. The group that owns the file has what rights?
Read, write.
Read, write. Now, what does that mean? Read means I can open it, I can run it, I can use it, but I can't delete it or change it. Write rights means that I can change it, I could modify it, I could delete it if I have write rights. Now, this is the other, this is anyone that is not a group that owns it or the user that owns it. There's only one user that owns anything. Multiple groups can have rights. All right, so this is a group right here. So anyone that's not the user that owns it or group that owns it has what kind of rights?
Just read.
Read. All right, now if we look back at our green file there, take a look at that one. Now that is RWX dash dash dash. So what does the X mean? Executable, right? So if I was going to write a script or have something that's going to run, then it would have to have execute rights. I think we walked through that, didn't we? Where we were looking at, I created a little script that said, you know, did a few minor things there, but we had to change that permission. Now, directories are a little bit different. If you look at directories, you still have the same thing, but notice directories are always executable, right? You notice that? Every directory has execute rights, and what that allows you to do is to open that directory. When you're opening a directory, that means it's executable. I can open it up and browse through it. Once I browse through it, then the read and write will give you what permissions you have to a file once you get there. But all directories are going to have executable rights. Okay, so how did I get this? What command did I do to have that? ls what?
Dash L.
Dash L. So L is long listing or line format, whatever you want the L to stand for. You could combine these. For example, you could do ls, oops, not there, wrong place, up here. Or I could do ls, could I do ls dash AL? Could you do both of those? Yeah, you can combine them. So that means all files in a long listing, even the hidden files, and of course that's going to be a lot of files. So you can see a lot of files there, even the hidden ones, right? So you see the ones that begin with the dot; those are the hidden files. Now, obviously, that's scrolled off the screen, right? So typically, if you're looking at a listing from a command line and you want to look at it in a little bit better format, you could do something like this. You could take this and you could actually use what's called a pipe, which is a vertical line. This is just above the enter key, the backslash and the vertical line. So press the shift key. And there's two files. If you ever need to, if you have a listing that goes off the screen and you want to be able to see it, there's two things you can do. All right, do you see the problem? If all you're using is a command line and it scrolls off the screen, then you can't see it. Is there a way to look at it maybe a page at a time or a line at a time? Yes, there is. There's two ways to do that. And one way is to use this pipe character. So a pipe takes the output of one program and it makes it the input of another program. Now, and first one I'm going to do is more, M-O-R-E. And what that does is showing me the first screen, right? And you see down there at the bottom, what's it say? Says more. All right, so what I can do there is if you want to see it a screen at a time or a line at a time, you can do it like this. On a router, have you ever done show run?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that uses something like that. Because if you want to go to the next screen, what do you press on a router?
Space.
You press the space bar. Same thing right here, space bar. If you want to go one line at a time with the show run, what do you press?
Enter.
Enter key. All right, same thing here. Works exactly the same way. And it works exactly like that. All right, so if you want to browse through it, then you can do that. That's just like doing a show run. You press the space bar, you press the enter key. Sometimes, what if you want to browse back and forth? Can you do that with a show run on a router? Well, not really. I mean, you could use the scroll bar and go back and look, right? But it's not built into a show run to allow you to go back and forth, is it? You have to physically go back there and look at it. Another thing you can do is if you want to look at a listing that goes off the screen, have you ever heard the expression, sometimes less is more? Anyone ever hear that expression? They're right. They're right. So rather than using more, let's use less. Okay, less is more. And what it does, which is really kind of neat, when I type this to less instead of more, I can go backwards and forwards. I can browse through it any way I want to. All right, backwards, forward. I can do page up, page down. So I can look through it and browse through it back and forth. So if all you want to do is just a quick view going down, then use more. If you want to be able to scroll through back and forth, then type it to less. How do you get out of this?
Q.
Yeah, Q. That's how you get out of that. You could also probably do Control Z would also get out of it. But Q is the best way to get out of it. All right, so Q is the best way to get out. All right. In fact, Control Z is not a scratch Control Z. Control Z just actually suspends it without actually killing it. So it's Q is a lot better. All right. So we're talking about ls command, and we've introduced a couple of switches here. Now let me try. We did have a couple of directories. I'm going to clear this off. I'm going to look at something else here, and we'll look at the wildcards a little bit later. I want to look at the things in the lab too, so I don't want to spend too much time with this. But we have the ls command. Now, I'll look in the current directory, and of course I could put the name of a directory here in front of that and look at any directory. What I want to do here is there's three switches that you need to remember, okay, with ls. We've talked about A and L. Everyone comfortable with the A and the L? What does the A do?
All.
Means all. It shows me hidden files that begin with a dot as well as regular files. What does the L do? It gives me the line format or long format. It shows permissions and ownership and size, time, date it was created. Now, one other one I want you to remember, and that is, we know what those do. And the other one is a capital R, which I could use all of those together, depending on what you want. The capital R stands for recursive. And if you do recursive, then that means it will show not only all of the files in the current directory, but all of the files in any subdirectories below that. So that's what the -R does. It stands for recursive. What does it mean in English? Include subdirectories. Include all the folders underneath that folder. So if you do that, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff. because it's showing all of the directories too. You see the ones that have the slash there? It's showing me every directory underneath that and all the files that are in that directory. So, so when you're doing that, and that's a lot of output there, it's showing me subdirectories. Now, the other command that you have here, and we already talked about the CD command on Tuesday, and so you can use that. We know what the dot dot is. What's the dot dot?
Brings it up.
Issue back to.
Okay. It takes you up one directory, and basically with the dot dot, that's the parent directory, right? You use that when you're looking at a relative path. We also talked about the dot. What is the dot? Current directory. All right. Now we have these right here that are move, copy, and remove. And we've already talked about creating directories there, so I'm not going to revisit that right now. But what does the move command do? It does just what you'd expect it to. You give me the path and the name of a file, and then you give me the destination directory you want to put it in, along with a new name if you want to. All right, let's do this. Let's go back to Fedora here, and let's do something pretty simple here. We'll play with this a bit. Before we make, now let's see. All right, let's see. Now let's make a directory, and all right. How do we make a directory? MKDIR. Let's do make directory, and let's now all capital letters test, T-E-S-T, and everything is case sensitive, so make sure you're aware of that. So I just created a directory that's capital E, T-E-S-T. So we just created a directory called test. Now, where am I right now? I can do PWD, right? PWD. All right. Let me introduce a neat little command that you can do, and we're going to use it to create a file. But what happens when you do CAL and hit enter? What does that do? Gives you a calendar for this month and tells you what day it is. So it's 26th, March 2015. So it gives me a little text calendar. What if you put, let's say you put calendar 2015? What's that going to do? It's going to give me the whole year. So that gives me a calendar for the whole year. All right, question. 2000, was that a leap year? The year 2000, was that a leap year? And of course we could tell that by looking at a calendar. We could do calendar February 2000. Anyone answer that? Was it a leap year? Is it divisible by 4? Do we have a leap year every 4 years?
Yeah, and then you look at
Okay, yeah, it was a leap year. We have the 29th of February. What about 1956? Is that a leap year? Is it divisible by 4?
Yeah.
So it's a leap year. Okay, now what about February of 1900? Was that a leap year? No, it wasn't. Why not? divisible by 4. Okay, the way leap year, if you're doing leap year, there's two things to consider. If it is not a century year, then if it's divisible by 4, it is a leap year. If it is a century year, then that century year must be divisible by 400. 1900 is not divisible by 400, but if I looked at 1600, that would be a leap year, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So if I do 1600, that's going to be a leap year. Okay. All right, not that that has anything to do with anything, but all right. So let's, what I want to do here is I'm in my home directory / root. I want to create a file that, all right, I'm going to create a file here. I'm going to do calendar, let's say January 2015. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this character right here. This is referred to as this is a redirection character. And I'm going to do, all right, I'm going to do Jan 2015. Now let's see what that does. You know what this command's going to do? It's going to print a calendar for January 2015. Normally that would go to the screen, but when I use this special character, this is a redirection character, and what that does, rather than going to the screen, it sends it to this file. That file is called Jan 2015. All right, can everybody see that? All right, all right. So,
So I'm creating a file here.
all right, so I'm going to hit enter. All right, so go ahead and hit enter. So calendar 1/2015, redirected Jan to 2015. I didn't see anything on the screen. Why not?
It redirected.
It didn't go to the screen. I redirected that standard output to that file. Can I look at that file? How do you look at that file?
Change the
What?
we have to change the directory to get the file. CD.
Well, it's a file. It's not a directory, so you're not going to do CD. It's sitting right there. In fact, if I did ls, I'll see it, right? You see the file? There it is right there. In fact, I've already got February and March. Do y'all have February and March too? Or is that just mine? Do you have yours?
Yeah.
All right, I guess I did this before. I just never erased it. Okay, so those files are there. If you want to see that they exist, do ls. If you want to look at them, since they are text files, there's a way that you can look at them. You can look at them this way. You can do CAT. That stands for cat. Well, cat stands for concatenate. So what you can do is you can look at that file. And so I'm going to do, let's look at Jan 2015. And what do I expect to see? If I cat that, I'm going to view the contents of that file, not of a directory, but of a file. I can see what that content is. I can do cat February, and you'll see February 2015. And I can do March. You see what I'm doing? I'm using the up arrow and then using backspace to change that. But those are those three files. So if you ever want to look at the contents of a text file, the easiest way is just cat it. You cat a text file, you can see the contents of that file. And it's similar to the type command in MS-DOS that allows you to look at a text file also. But one other thing you can do with this, you can also do it like this. You can do cat, let's see, what did I have? Jan 2015, Feb 2015, March, right? Those are the three files that I have. What's that gonna do?
It's gonna-
Yeah, that's why it's called concatenate. If I just use it with one file, it shows me the contents of that file. As long as it's a text file, I can read it. But the reason it's called concatenate is it's not limited to one file. I can put them in order here. So what am I gonna see now?
All of them.
I'll see all of them. I'll see January, February, and March in that order. So I can see all of those. All right, now let's talk about, so I have some files that I can play with. I have, we created one, the other two are already there. So I've got, I would like to copy those files to my new directory called test that we created. So how do we do that?
CP.
So if you look at that handout that I was looking at earlier, what is the command that allows me to copy files? It is CP, copy. All right, copy. All right, if you ever need help with a command and you don't want to go look at one of the handouts or something, you can always get help for any command. You need to know how to do that. I think, did we talk about how to get help for a command?
No.
If not, let's do it now. If you ever want to get help for a command, there's three ways that you can get help. Although they don't work with all commands. One way you can do is most commands, you can do -- help, and it will display the help information. So you could look at the help for that, and since it takes up more than one screen, you'd probably want to pipe it to less, so you can scroll through it. So CP, it allows you to copy from one, you specify the source file and path, and then the destination file. And you can press Q to get out of that. All right, so I have 3 files there. Now I want to copy all 3 of those files to my test directory, and I'm going to do ls there. You see them there. So I could do this, right? I could do copy, and since I'm already where the files are, I don't need to put a path in front of it. I could do copy Jan 2015, Feb 2015, Mar 2015, and then specify the directory I want to send them to. So let me show you a different way to do that, though. Is there a wildcard that I could use that would specify all of those files? And only those 3 files. Is there anything unique about those 3 files that I can use to identify?
January.
Not January. There's January, February, and March. So not the January. What is unique about it? They're all 2015. So could I copy all the files that end in 2015? And if so, how would you do that?
Pipe.
Not pipe. What is the wildcard you would use? You need a wildcard. There's 3 wildcards that you're going to be using a lot. You're going to be using the asterisk, and it means all. It means either all that follows or all that precedes, or all, just everything. We're also going to talk about the question mark, which means any one character, and then we'll also look at the brackets. That's a set of characters. But what I need right here, let me type it for you and see if you think that's going to do it. You think that'll do it? Can you read that? What does the asterisk mean?
So we're starting everything that's.
So this would copy anything that might precede that, as long as it ends in 2015. That's what that means. So that's a lot better way to do that, isn't it? So I want to copy all files that end in 2015. Now, by the same token, let's say you did, what if I did ABC asterisk? What does that mean? Anything that starts with ABC, no matter what might follow. So you see how you can use that. If I just did the asterisk, it's going to copy every file in that directory. That means everything, right? So that's the three ways that you use that. So I'm going to use it like this. So I'm going to copy every file that ends in 2015, and I'm going to copy it where? So what do I type? Do I type test, or do I put anything in front of test? Now, not a tilde. What does a tilde mean? It means put it in your home directory. So it's not a tilde. All right, I'm going to put the, is that a forward slash or a backslash? Forward slash, okay. Because this is an absolute address, isn't it? All right, so I'm going to put test. So will that do it? Now, a lot of times, and the book talks about this, whenever you're doing the test, you typically, if it's just a directory, it'll still work without it, but typically it's a good idea to put a slash after it too. That way I know that that's not a file, that is a directory. Not needed, but usually a good idea. So I'm going to copy all of those files to that directory. Are they still here? If I do ls, will I still see the files here?
Yeah.
Because I didn't move them, I copied them, right? All right, let's look at the files in the test directory and see if they got there, see if they were copied. How do you do that? ls what? What directory?
Test.
Slash test, right? Not just test, but slash test. So I'm looking at the contents of that directory, and you see there they are. So that's how you copy files from the command line from one place to the other. And you can use wildcards, and when we have a little bit more time, I'll go over the use of the brackets. You've got a lot of different ways that you can specify files, but the asterisk is probably the main one that you use, and it's real convenient. Now, so the files are there.
Question. And if it says my file and one and test file, then or is that my file?
Well, okay, what I think you did is did you create the directory test? Did you make it all caps?
No, I didn't.
That's
the reason.
So that's why I made it all caps. There's another one there that's called lowercase test.
Okay.
So yeah, that was all caps test. What's the difference between a move and a copy? They're similar, right? What's the difference? All right, so I didn't move to that directory. I'm still over here. Now look at, so I want to move the files. Move is very similar to the copy. What's the command to move files?
MV.
MV, move, okay. So if you want to do the same thing, in fact, if I come back up here to this last command, you can do the up arrow. That's the last command that I did. If I replace this with an MV, what is that going to do? It's going to move those files, right? So what's the difference between a copy and a move?
When you actually create a copy of it, or you just move it.
You don't have files in the
Yeah,
original folder.
so the original files are going to be gone now. So that's the difference between a move and a copy. So if I do a move, now two things are going to happen. Let me show you what's going to happen here. Will that move the files? Yes, it will, but it will, since you're about to write over the files that were already there, because we already copied them, right? It will ask, it will complain, and it will ask you, do you want to overwrite this file? Do you want to overwrite this file? Now that would be okay, but if you wanted to do 100 files, you probably don't want to say yes 100 times. All right, so there's two ways. By default, if you're ever deleting a file or you're copying over a file, it will always interact with you. And so I'm going to do this, and I should get some kind of prompt there. Do you want to overwrite that? Now, I don't want to overwrite it, so I'm going to put in. No, no, no. Can you see how irritating that would be if you had 100 files and you had to do that? All right, unless you get paid by the hour. Okay, then it's okay. But if you want to do this efficiently and you know, yes, I want to overwrite those ahead of time, then there's something you can do with that. You can modify a move command, and what you can do is, so let's try this again, the same thing, but I'm going to do -F. You don't have as many switches with the move and remove, but that's one of the switches that you do have is -F. -F is force. That means do it anyway. Don't talk to me, just do it. All right. So if you know for sure you're going to do that, then you don't need to be prompted. So I'm going to do the same command again. The only difference is that I have the -F, and it just does it. So that can be real handy if you're copying files and you know you got some files over there, but you definitely want to overwrite it. Then you can always use it with the copy and the move. You can use -F. Are the files still here in this directory? No, they're gone. So if let's go to the test directory and see if they're there. So how do I get to the test directory? What's the command? CD
space /
not
uppercase
space. Well, space, but then what?
/ test.
Yeah, / and that's all caps, test. And then I can do ls because I'm there and the files are there. Now, the move command has one other purpose. If you're ever asked on a test, what is the command that you use to change the name of the file? What is that command? It's the move command. The move command not only moves, but it's used to rename the file. And let me show you how that works. If you're doing a move and the source and destination directory is the same, and you change the name in the destination directory, it's a rename. So I'm going to rename March 2015. I want to rename it to 03-2015. So how would I do that? I would do move, and I'm not specifying a directory because I'm there. So March 2015 space 03-2015. Yeah, so what did I just do? I just renamed it, didn't I? So the rename does that. And you can see that right there. So now that file is called 03-2015. All right, I want to pull up the. I want to still walk through the lab for this week. So I'm going to go to the. Now let's see. I'm already here. So this is week 1. Now you know the homework you need to do, right? Those are those cert cams that. Has everyone been on the Dropbox site? You know where those cert cams are?
Yeah.
Your homework assignment is to look at those 3 cert cams and fill out what commands were shown in the little video and what those commands did. and you fill that out. That is your homework for week 1. Your lab for week 1 is right here. And this is a lot of the stuff we've been doing. This is on file manipulation and environmental variables. So this first chapter kind of talked about that, so this is a good lab to do. There's 2 documents here. There's one document that ends in the word -lab. What's that one for? That's the lab instructions. All right, that tells you exactly what you need to do. That's what you need to be looking at when you do the lab. All right, I'm going to open this up and we're going to browse through this. All right, so this is one of the labs using the Bash shell. And it has a little bit of introduction there. So you're doing this one using NetLab, right? You're not doing this on your Fedora. You're going to the NetLab site. I've got one new person. I'll have to create a NetLab account for him. Rest of you, you've all been on NetLab. Okay, so you know how to log in. You have your login. So you're going to the NetLab site and looking at this. And it's going to introduce some of the ones we've already looked at and some other ones. So it's going to look at some good commands. This is what the NetLab computers look like. This one, I believe, is going to be using Fedora. Yeah, so it uses the Fedora workstation. You log in as sysadmin. What's the password? NetLab123. NetLab123. And you're going to open up, you're going to find the console. So follow those directions. Once you've done it one time, you've got it down. You're opening up the console connection, or a console window, I should say, or terminal window. And it has commands that you're going to type. So most of this is just learning commands and learning how to get help and other things. One way you can get help is to use what's called a man page. So you can do man date, and it gives you the manual pages for the date command. So you're going to go through here and do these commands and read over what it says. Now, when you're doing the lab, you're going to now this is step number 8. And so what you're looking at in the lab, you're going to take the lab, you're going to do every step of that lab using NetLab. When you get to a box there that has red typing in it, then it means you need to stop and capture something. All right, so this means use the snipping tool or green shot to capture the command and the command output for this step, which means what? Step 8. All right, so you're going to take this step 8, and your output should look very similar to that. All right, this is actually a neat command. If you do uname with any Linux or Unix box, it will give you information about what version it is. I think this means symmetrical multiprocessing. It gives you the time and date it was installed, what kind of platform. It gives you information about the operating system. All right. So the main thing I want to go over is, do you know how to handle the lab? Do you know what you need to turn in? So you go to NetLab, you log in, you follow those instructions, and you just walk through the lab. Don't worry about capturing anything until you see what? That red triangle. All right, when you see a red triangle for something, then it means you need to copy something. So when it asks for this step, it means this would be that second thing. You're doing the etc host file. Okay, so you're copying that. You just continue doing that until you complete the lab. So, and try to understand what the command does. Now, this is an interesting command. Here's another variation of the ls command. What does the LS D do? We didn't talk about that one. I don't think I have that in the handout. We talked about A and L and what else did we had the capital R. What does the D do? That's directories, right? If you don't want to see the files, if you just want to see the directories, then you can do that. You can do that -D, and what this one does, now this is interesting, look at this one. We hadn't got to those wildcards yet, but if you look at this, this is really neat. What does this do? I'm going to look at all the directories in the ETC directory that are exactly 4 letters long, that begin with either A, B, C, or D. So that's a little bit convoluted, but that's what we're looking at. You see every one of those are exactly 4 letters. And they all begin with either A, B, C, or D. The square brackets is a basically one character within that set. Could be an A, could be a B, could be a C, could be a D. The question mark means any one character. I don't care what it is, but it better be there. So that means it must be exactly 4 letters long. The first letter must be A, B, C, or D. I don't care about the other letters. So that's a rather complicated wild card there, but you got a lot of flexibility in the way you can look at things here. So you're doing that. Now I guess the question is, how are you going to capture that and put it into that lab document? Did we talk about that? How do you do that? Okay, let's talk about that. There's 2 ways that you can do that, and let's make this assumption. Let's assume that I'm going to pull this back up. Let's assume that I think I still have the Fedora up and running. If it is, then yeah, where is Fedora? I think I have it still up there. There it is, right there. So here's Fedora. Let's say that that I want to capture this ls command right here. Let's say that's what you want. Now, the only way, once you're in NetLab, you're actually in a browser window, right? NetLab runs in a browser window. So there's 2 ways that you can do that. One way that you can do that is you can use the window snipping tool. All right, so you can click right here, and if you don't see it up there, you can type in snip, and it'll show up. If you do see it up there, then you go ahead and click on it, and this not right here. All right, so this is the snipping tool. As long as you're running Windows 7 or 8, I think that's included there. And what you can do there, let's say I needed you to capture this command right here, then you just click and drag that, and let's say that's what I wanted right here. So you capture that. All right. Now, once you let go, when you're clicking and dragging, making that box, it puts it in this little editor. And if you want to go ahead and typically what you would do, you could save it as a file name. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is put it in the clipboard so you can put it in the report document. So right here, copy. You see that? So you copy. That puts it in the clipboard. Now I'm through with this since it's in the clipboard. No. All right. Now I can go to my lab document. Let's see where my lab document is. Okay. Let me get back over here. All right. Okay, there's the lab document right here. So let's open up that lab document, and let's just say you see what it is. It has a slot for this information. So capture this. and put the output into the space provided below. So what do? I put the cursor right there in that little box. And then I paste that graphic capture in there, so that's what you do. So that's all you need to do. Now, one way you can do that is you can use this tool called snipping tool. But that's what you're going to turn in. As you do a task and I ask you to capture that, that's what you're going to do. All right? And obviously that doesn't go with that, but that's just an example. Let me show you one other thing you can do. All right, so I'll just minimize that so I can get back to it. Now the other thing you can do, and I think I have that here. You see this right here, the screenshot? Snipping tool works fine. You may like this better. This is free software, so it's you can freely download it. I think this is one of the newer versions, so it's probably pretty well up to date. So I'm just going to install that. That's also on that week 1 key there, which you can get that. And I'm just going to install that and see how it works. I forgot how it works, but I think it was pretty good. Let's see. I'm just going to. I rarely put things in program files, and I rarely put things on the C drive, so I'm going to put it on my B drive. But it doesn't matter where you put it. All right, and I'm going to use all of the defaults there and just go ahead and install it. All right, so I'm going to install that. So easy, quick to install. All right, and let's just go into the website. All right, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so I should now have this software called GreenShot, and what that does is it resides in the taskbar over here. And I forgot how this works, so I'm gonna, where is GreenShot? Is that, oh, right here. I'm gonna double click on it and see what it does. Actually, let's see, okay. Now look what options you have. You can capture a region by using the print screen key. You can capture the full screen by using control print screen, or capture the window by using alternate print screen. So those are the default keys. Let's see how it works. All right, we'll just, I got something right there. I'll try it with that. So it says that I can use the print screen key. And there's that, and I can get real precise with when I'm looking at it because it's magnified. That'd be too much. All right, but and I can capture that. You see, it highlights it. So let's say I can capture that right there, and copy to clipboard. Okay, now it's in the clipboard. I could go back to my report document, put that right there, and paste it in right there. So either one, I think the GreenShot's a little easier to use than Snipping Tool. And once it's installed, you don't have to go find it. It's in the taskbar over there. You just use the print screen and what was it? Print screen does a region. You could also do the, what was it? The alternate print screen does the current window, or you could do, what was it? Shift print screen, or one of those is the whole screen, one of the other. All right, so there's the way that works. So either one,
Okay.
But all of these are going to ask you to either use the snipping tool or GreenShot. I use typically something called Snagit, but it's pretty much the same thing. I can just hit a special key and then highlight what I want. It's in the clipboard. That one is commercial software, so it costs you money. The other ones are free. All right, but you could take that and it's a little bit simpler to use.
So we only use the NetLab to perform these tasks, or we can use just go to the shell and do
You
these
have to
things?
go to NetLab
Mhm.
to do that. You can't do that on the Fedora, for example.
Why?
So you're always going to go to that NetLab site. Everybody has logged on to the NetLab site. All right. So you open that up, and just one other thing, and we'll call it a day here pretty quick. But let's regarding the NetLab site. I'm through with this. What's the best way to get out of this and shut it down? INIT0 space 0, and that's the quickest and most efficient way to shut that off. All right, so I'm through with that. And I'm going to go ahead and log into NetLab.
Space 0. And press enter.
Just out of curiosity, what would happen if you exited without doing the init0?
Well, let me ask you this. What would happen if you held on to the on-off button on Windows and just shut it down like that? Maybe nothing. It may just crash and never boot again.
Yeah.
So regardless, even though it's not as picky as Windows is, it's still a bad way just to turn the power off. So it'll probably do nothing.
It's like letting your car run out of gas.
Yeah.
To turn it off.
Now, when you get to NetLab, and I assume everyone except for the new student has done this before, you're going to do what? Do you always have to do this test?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. If you expect to get to the equipment, you have to do that test. So don't skip that. So you do the test. If you get, you also have to do something else. You also have to make sure that you either turn off your pop-up blocker or put an exception for dccccd.edu because it has to be able to use pop-up windows. If while you're doing this test, you get an error message related to Java, that means you need to update your Java. Where do you go to update your Java? In case you get a message like that. Java.com. So www.java.com. So you go through and you always do have to do that remote test. And you should get an okay. And I see Robert's already on a lab. Let's go to his lab. Okay. So I could actually log on to his lab there. Typically, though, you're going to. I'm a regular. Let's see. Actually, I logged in as. Okay, I see his right there. So typically, what do? You go over here. Actually, I'm logged in as the instructor, so I can see Robert's there, but this is a little bit different. I meant to log in as John Doe, but I logged in as so this looks a little bit different. Let me log out and log back in as John Doe. All right, so let's see, John Doe. I'm going to log in as John Doe. All right, there I am. So I still have to do the same thing. As a student, this is what you're going to see. So, I think most of you did that on Tuesday, but you always do that remote test. If you get any messages that relate to Java, then you need to update your Java. Just go to java.com and you'll have a link right there to update your Java. So you may need to do that. You need to turn off the pop-up blocker for this site so that it can